Hi, my name is Ikan and I'm 7 years old. I am awesome because I'm encouraging, I make good grades, I'm a good friend, and I'm good at math. Bye.
Hello, Minnesota. My name is Dr. Louise Block. I am the founder and CEO of Sancori Consulting, where we specialize in innovation for inclusion and impact. I am also the equity consultant for the Minnesota Department of Human Rights, a veteran educator and equity leader. Welcome to the 35th annual State of Minnesota Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration. Thank you to Governor Walz and to Lieutenant Governor Flanagan for hosting this virtual celebration.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Rebecca Lucero and I am the Commissioner for the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. Dr. Block and I are so excited to be here with all of you, whether you're joining from your classroom or maybe at your dining room table. We're all coming together today to pause and consider how each of us can honor and build on the powerful legacy of Dr. King.
And to do so, we will talk with Matthew A. Cherry, the award-winning director, writer, and producer of Hair Love.
Now for 2021, our theme is Beloved Community, Beloved Connections. Dr. King's vision of a beloved community is a society that embraces justice and love, actively works to end racism and poverty, and builds a community where we can thrive. At a time when many of us feel disconnected from each other due to COVID-19, we need to remember to embrace our beloved connections. We are interconnected, we are interdependent, and we need each other.
And as we come together, we're called to make real systematic change to end hate and discrimination. That's what Dr. King worked for. We are called to actively undo racial disparities that have existed in our country for generations. As an educator, I know that the students in Minnesota are working toward this every day. It gives hope. Thank you to all the young Minnesotans. Thank you for the work to dismantle systems of oppression and challenge biases. Thank you for proclaiming that Black lives matter, Black women's lives matter, Black GLBTQ+ lives matter, Black disabled lives matter. Together, we can build a more just and loving world.
To begin the program, we are honored to have Jediah Steele, a phenomenally talented high school junior, sing the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. And following this powerful performance, you'll hear from Governor Walz, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, and from students and youth across the state. Dr. Block and I will then be back for our interview with Matthew A. Cherry.
Lift Every Voice and Sing was written by James Weldon Johnson, who himself was a principal, and performed in 1900 by a group of 500 children in a segregated school in Jacksonville, Florida. Lift Every Voice and Sing reminds us to never forget the suffering of the past and roots us in the realities of today. This song also reminds us to be true to who we are and to continue to persevere. As such, it is an anthem. It is customary to stand. If you are able, please join us in standing for the Black National Anthem.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as a rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter that chassis ride, felt in the days that hope unborn had died, yet with the steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place of which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way that witches have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, God who has brought us thus far on the way, God who has by thy mind led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places our God where we met thee, lest our heart, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
Hello, Minnesotans. Governor Walz here. Whether you're watching this with your classmates or at home with your family, thank you for joining the 35th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration. This year's celebration couldn't have been possible without the generosity of so many. Thank you to 3M, the Governor's Council on the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, and all the others who helped make this year's event possible. Today we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day and honor a man who inspired generations of Americans to build a just and loving society. Dr. King had a vision for the world that kids could grow up in. He fought to dismantle racist structures. He challenged us to meet fear and hatred with action and love. He recognized the power of many and brought people together to build a beloved community. The world Dr. King dreamt of is a world we're still working to shape together. We have seen that the COVID-19 pandemic has only exacerbated existing inequities for communities of color. And last May, the world watched in horror as George Floyd's humanity was taken away from us. Both the pandemic and George Floyd's death have exposed what we already knew to be true, that there's an urgent need for meaningful change in our state and country. We will not wake up one day and have the disease of racism cured. Minnesota consistently ranks highly for our public schools, innovation and opportunity, and happiness, if you're white. If you're not, the opposite is true. Our continued struggle with violence and racism is a fundamental public health crisis. We must do everything in our power to come together as one community to deconstruct generations of racism in our state so that every Minnesotan, Black, Indigenous, brown, or white, can be safe and thrive. We must ensure that Dr. King's life and legacy as a leader of the civil rights movement continues to live on in Minnesota and across this country. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jada and I'm 12 years old. I know I'm awesome because I think all people matter and have good in them. I work hard in school to get good grades. I also play many sports to keep me fit and athletic. I like to help out my neighbors by raking their yards and shoveling for them.
My name is Tiger. I'm awesome because I help my mom at work when I can. I help my little brothers. I like science and I like to play with them. I like to be nice. I like to be myself.
Welcome to the 35th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. Today we celebrate the legacy and vision of Dr. King, a vision that we are still striving to achieve. Our community is hurting right now. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed disparities along lines of race, income, and so much more. The world watched as George Floyd lost his life at the hands of law enforcement, and our communities are reeling, having to say never again, once again. Kids across Minnesota have learned on screens at home, through packets, or with masks on, 6 feet apart. But in this moment, our connections are exposed too. My hope is that this pandemic has helped us to realize how much we mean to one another and how resilient we can be, and the importance of dismantling the structures that have harmed BIPOC communities for generations. Part of that work is celebrating ourselves and our communities. In only days, Kamala Harris will be sworn in as the first Black and South Asian woman to hold the office of Vice President. When my daughter saw her walk across the stage after the results were final, she turned to me and said, "Mommy, she looks like me." And I have often reflected on her words. I may be the first woman to hold this office, but I won't be the last. With every first, we set in motion a new legacy that reflects the fullness and diversity of our community. We can imagine a future that's just a little bit brighter. We all have hard work to do to achieve a world without racism. We must keep working so we have more firsts and seconds and tenths until inclusion and equity are the norm. Because this is the future Dr. King knew could exist. But together, with each hard conversation, with each first at the table, with each moment we celebrate our full selves, we are one step closer. I see you and I believe in you. Love yourselves and your beloved community.
My name is Luke. I'm 9 years old. I am awesome because I'm the best drawer of 3rd grade.
My name is Matthew. I am 11 years old and I'm awesome because my hair gives me superpowers.
Hello, Mr. Cherry. Welcome to Minnesota, albeit virtually. Is it all right if I refer to you as Matthew?
Yes, it's all good.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us for the Governor and Lieutenant Governor's 35th Dr. King celebration. For those of you who do not know who are watching today or have not read Hair Love or watched Hair Love, I highly recommend you do so. The link to the Oscar-winning film can be found in the YouTube video description below.
We are grateful that you are here with us to have the conversation, as well as students and families across the state. Let's jump right into the questions. We love to start by learning more about you. Dynasty, take it away.
Hi Matthew, my name is Dynasty. I am 14 years old. I am in the 9th grade. My question for you, we all are here because of the people who came before us and because of the community who raised us. Who are the elders who paved the path for you and who taught you that you are awesome?
Yeah, I definitely think I'm awesome because the people that came before me, like, my mother and father, Kenneth and Diana Cherry, my grandparents, on both sides, my aunts, uncles, and the ancestors that came before them. They came from Mississippi up to the Midwest to look for a better life. And I definitely think they're a big part of why I am who I am.
Great, thank you for that. Now, of course, many people know you because of your Academy Award for Hair Love, but you've also done a lot of really impressive work. You've directed episodes of Blackish, you produced music videos with Beyonce and Snoop Dogg, and of course, you played in the NFL. So can you talk a little bit about your path? And I'm wondering, what advice do you have for young people, especially Black youth, as they think about what their future looks like?
Well, yeah, I've definitely lived many lives. I feel like just turned 39 the other day, and
Happy birthday.
thank you. And for me, my path was just growing up. I always was into film and television. Grew up in Chicago, and there weren't a lot of films that were shooting in our neighborhoods or community. Obviously, Chicago now is a bit of a hub for film and TV, but it wasn't like that when I was little. And was involved in like a lot of team sports as a kid. Football, baseball, basketball, track and field as well. Played all four in high school, and went to the University of Akron on a football scholarship, and majored in radio, TV broadcast, and minored in media production. And I just kind of always like had one foot in the athletics and one foot into my real interest, which was like film and TV. And just was lucky enough to make it to the NFL, and knew very early on that I was gonna have to get my plan B together really quick, because I got cut my rookie year and then was put on the practice squad, and it was definitely a bit devastating, because that was the first time I really saw politics really meeting athletics. And a lot of it really is outside of your control, and some guys get hurt and some guys don't. Some guys end up on teams where it works out and other guys don't as well. And so I just knew really early on that I would have to get into my major probably sooner than later, and moved to LA when I retired 3 years after playing in the NFL, and heard about this program called Streetlights, which is this nonprofit organization that helps young men and women of color, and you get training about how to be a production assistant on different sets, and also they help you get your first couple of jobs. And so just kind of worked my way up. Started as a PA. Started trying to direct my own projects, which started with music videos and then progressed to short films, and then did my first indie feature called The Last Fall in 2011, and that premiered at South by Southwest. And it's just been kind of one foot in front of the other, and that's the advice I would give.
Thank you. That's great advice, Mr. Cherry. Let's talk about Hair Love. It is a powerful story about family, love, and loving ourselves. When I was young, my mother taught me at a very young age that natural hair is acceptable and beautiful. I remember having Afro puffs going to school in North Minneapolis, similar to Zuri. What inspired you to tell this story?
It was a combination of a few things. Like I've always loved animated films growing up. I feel like most people, if you ask them what their favorite movie is, they're gonna mention things like Lion King and Incredibles and all the great kind of Disney and Pixar and even Sony animation films. And I'd worked mostly in live action, and I had this idea for Hair Love, and I was like, if I do this in live action, I don't know if it'll have the same impact. And because it was speaking to kids, and it was also trying to normalize Black fathers and Black families, like animation just felt like a more universal medium to showcase the story in, where it would hit more people. And also I was coming across a lot of viral videos of dads that were doing their daughter's hair, and a vast majority of them were super cute, but it was kind of a bit of a double-edged sword, because people, I think, were giving extra love and credit to these dads that were doing these daughters' hair, and it was almost like they saw it as an anomaly, like, oh my God, look at the Black father that's involved in his daughter's life. Like, that's great, but you don't see this all the time. And I'm not a father myself yet, but recently got married. Want to have kids myself, and also have a lot of friends that are young fathers, and a vast majority of them are super involved in their kids' lives and would do anything for their families. And it really was just trying to represent for those dads. And also, obviously, when you watch the short film, you get to see that the entire family is in the mix. And it's just something we wanted to do that really could make an impact. And it's been just insane, like all the love that it's gotten. We recently announced that the book is going to be coming out in Spanish, in early May next year. And it's just been an incredible ride, and there's so many more things to do with it, and it's just been incredible.
Another question for me, throughout history, African-American hair, particularly African-American women's hair, has been very political in the natural state. Do you feel like that is changing now, or it's still the same? What are some of the opportunities and challenges that are present now for African-Americans wearing natural hair?
I mean, it really depends on your field, right? Like, because the cool thing about really both of the fields I was in, sports and, you know, being a filmmaker, I would guess you say the arts in general is like, it isn't as restrictive as I feel like it probably is, and like, you know, working a regular 9 to 5. So, you know, I've never felt like that same pressure to, you know, feel like I've had to change my hair to, you know, get a particular job or an opportunity. I definitely think for Black women though, you know, even being in the arts, there is a different thing, you know, because especially in filmmaking, like, you know, the gold standard sadly is still, you know, straight hair, right? And so oftentimes you have these actresses that wear natural hair in their regular day-to-day life, but then when they get on these sets and they're playing these characters, they want them to straighten their hair to kind of embody this role because people feel like it'll be that much more appealing to like the mainstream audience. And I think it's just so encouraging having people like Issa Rae and Tracy Ellis Ross and Regina King, and, you know, just there's so many incredible actors now who are just really embracing, like, you know what, like, I want to wear my hair like this, and I want other people to feel like they can wear it like this too. And, you know, they're just really taking control of that narrative and really, I think, showcasing, you know, Black beauty in a way that it really hasn't been depicted, you know, in a very long time. Obviously, you had people like Moesha, and even back in the 70s, you know, you had the natural hair movement with the froze and everything. But, you know, I think there was some time in the 80s where it kind of shifted and we got away from, you know, the you know, really just embracing the natural beauty of it all. And I think it's just coming back. And I think every day that passes, you know, we get that much more comfortable. And I think, you know, ultimately when this Crown Act passes, you know, nationwide, you know, hopefully through the Senate, becomes federal law, you know, it'll be one less thing we have to worry about.
Absolutely. I feel like during like the recent depictions in art, you think about his life and imitate art, or does art imitate life, and thinking about, you know, Black Panther and the intentionality about the aesthetic there. And then a recent new Christmas movie, Jingle Jangle, and the very intentionality around natural beauty and expression in that way for African-American people and women in particular. And then of course, Hair Love for the young people. I feel like this is a trajectory that we're on in this way. And I'm really encouraged by these examples and really excited for your contribution of Hair Love to be part of that new emerging canon of self-love and acceptance and beauty and inclusivity all the way around. So thank you so much for your contribution.
Oh, no, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You, I think, answered the next question really beautifully already. So it says, your book is an important representation of a Black dad and his desire to affirm the natural beauty of his daughter. Why is this an important story? I think you hit on a lot of these pieces, but is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, you know, being an African-American male in Hollywood, you know, a lot of times, like, you know, people project and they give you this weird energy because, you know, I'm 6'2", former athlete. So, I'm, you know, more often than not, I'm, you know, bigger than people. And, you know, I think people kind of put that projection onto you that, you know, you're intimidating or, you know, aggressive or kind of whatever these phrases that happen. And those same kind of stereotypes end up making their way into mainstream media, you know, and TV shows, into films, into, you know, ad campaigns, into magazines. You know, you see it in every facet of life. And, you know, I think Black dads have probably gotten one of the worst raps when it's come to mainstream media. You know, always depicted as not present, you know, abusive, you know, all these kind of negative connotations. And, you know, just wanted to really represent for the dads that are in their kids' lives. And there have been actually studies that have shown that Black fathers are amongst the most involved in their kids' lives, even if they're not married to the mother. So, you know, just something, again, to really help to normalize that. You know, it was really important for us to, you know, give the dad locks, you know, to make sure he had like a couple of tattoos to really represent him as like how a lot of young fathers are today. And, you know, if you see a young man like that, a lot of people, if they saw a young man like this approaching them walking down the street, you know, some people may cross the street, you know, some people may not fully think of this person's humanity. And, you know, we just wanted to showcase, like, you know, young men that look like this, you know, can also be loving fathers, and also, you know, be a part of these loving families. And yeah, it was just a really important message for us to get out there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing forth those really salient points about how African-American men are portrayed in the media and how this is antithetical to that. Thank you so much. There are pivotal moments in history that go on to shape our society for decades. Like today, Martin Luther King Jr. was killed, the AIDS crisis, and 9/11. We recently experienced such a pivotal moment as we watched an officer kill George Floyd. and the resulting global response calling for transformational change. This, coupled with the COVID pandemic, another historical and pivotal moment. What does it mean to be alive right now? How is this moment impacting your work?
It really is like a big, it's important, you know. I think there definitely were times this year where I was kind of like, is what I'm doing, you know, is what we're doing as artists, does it even matter? You know, there's so much things happening in the world that, you know, deserve attention. Like, you know, what is me trying to, you know, make this movie, is me trying to make this TV show, you know, does it matter? And I think, you know, resoundingly it was yes. You know, people need these outlets. People need to be entertained and to see themselves represented, you know, as fully realized human beings. You know, I think that's where film and TV are most powerful, where it allows you to get a peek inside other people's humanities. And so, you know, you may not have ever met another Muslim person in your life, but you watch a TV series that depicts them as fully realized human beings, you get, oh, light bulb, they're just like me, you know? And this is where I think film and TV are most powerful. And I think that, you know, it really has affected me personally, because being a young, you know, Black male myself, and, you know, being in the position where we're working on the animated series, which is the spinoff of our short film Hair Love, you know, it was probably one of the most important events that happened this year that ended up ultimately affecting the show. And so for us, it really was like, what are we saying? You know, like, we can't just be here showing people having fun and it's light. It's you know, like, we have to actually be saying something too. And, you know, for us, we really are going to start taking some deeper dives into like mental health and, you know, some conversations that I think a lot of young Black people really aren't having. And I think it's something that, you know, being Black in itself is just, you're already kind of suffering a bit of PTSD, because you're constantly inundated with these images of us getting arrested, us getting shot, you know, protesters being treated unfairly. And, you know, you have to have an outlet for this stuff. And so, you know, I think all artists are just really taking this and really trying to put it into their work, but not doing it in a way where it's like heavy-handed or it's disrespecting the movement, just doing it in ways where it just fully depicts us as, again, like fully realized human beings. So yeah, you know, I think George Floyd will forever have an impact in our industry, and, you know, definitely sending much love to his family and his friends. You know, that was a horrible incident.
Thank you. Bringing forth the idea of fully realized human beings. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You know, let's switch gears real quick and talk about the Crown Act, something that I know is really important to you. Let me tell you a little bit what's going on in Minnesota. In Minnesota, our state civil rights laws prohibit discrimination based on race, sex, religion, disability, other protected class statuses. And as the commissioner for the Department of Human Rights, I believe the law already prohibits any discrimination based on race-based hairstyles. But it's important for it to be explicit in law. It's important to be explicit that discrimination based on natural hairstyles such as braids, locks, twists, and knots is completely unacceptable, in fact, illegal. So in Minnesota, the Crown Act, which would provide these clear protections, passed through the House with overwhelming bipartisan support after powerful community testimony. And we're really hopeful this year that the Senate will be willing to take this up as well. So talk about your work supporting passage of the Crown Act. Why is it important?
Ooh, well, you know, so sometimes things just kind of dovetail pretty organically. And, you know, in the making of Hair Love, you know, I wasn't even aware that the Crown Act was a thing. You know, it took us like 3 years to go from, you know, idea to final stages. And it was kind of when that wrestler in New Jersey, Andrew Johnson, had that incident where they cut his locks before the wrestling match. Right. That was really one of the first times that I heard about this law. And it just seemed like one of those things that it just fits so naturally and organically with the narrative that we were already telling with the short film. And, you know, for me, it was really important to highlight that, you know, especially in the speech. You know, those moments are ones where, you know, you kind of have to make a choice, because, you know, you only get like 60 seconds between two people to say stuff. And, you know, when you say something, you want it to hopefully be bigger than you. And for me, you know, highlighting the Crown Act was extremely important. And it was just one of those things where I felt like if we could get this on the national stage, you know, hopefully this could just like spiral and make it so that, you know, all the other, you know, however many states at the time hadn't passed it yet will kind of fall in line. And, you know, so hopeful now with, you know, Biden getting ready to, or Biden being president. And, you know, I just think that it's going to be a great thing. And there's going to be one less thing that our kids have to worry about.
Yeah, thank you for your work on that. And even without the Crown Act in place yet, it is illegal in Minnesota.
My name's Aries. I'm 18 years old, and my question is, what has inspired you, and what authors or musicians have shaped you?
You know, there have been a few. You know, definitely Spike Lee. You know, I think you know, a lot of us were raised on his film, so definitely Spike. I had the pleasure of being an executive producer on his movie Black Klansman, which won him the Oscar for writing. So that was really just an incredible experience. And then I'll also say two other filmmakers. You know, I mentioned her, you know, probably all the time, but definitely Ava DuVernay. I was around when she was kind of first getting started directing, and, you know, did her first feature, I Will Follow, and, you know, just being there and kind of seeing her rise, literally kind of from the ground up, was just incredibly inspiring. And I would also say Barry Jenkins, you know, similar situation. Huge fan of his first film, Medicine for Melancholy. And, you know, he helped me get my first movie into South by Southwest, and has just always been just such a great supporter and a friend. And those are the three that I would say have really inspired me. And also too, I would say people like Issa Rae and a lot of my peers as well, who are really doing great work. You know, I think anybody that is able to tell a Black story, or a story that centers their own individual kind of, you know, race or you know, sexual orientation, you know, in film, I think it really is impactful, because there's so many other people that get a chance to see themselves through these stories. And, you know, anybody that can pull that off is just a really inspiring person. And, you know, there's so many, and each year it kind of grows more and more.
Wow, those are a great list of people to connect with and be inspired by. Thank you. Students like Aries and Dynasty may be watching this video in a class across Minnesota. As an educator, I know how essential teachers are to creating an inclusive world. What can educators do, in your view, to promote inclusivity in their classrooms, to make sure students have the space to demonstrate their natural being, show up authentically, and speak powerfully?
I mean, you know, I think it's just really about meeting kids where they are. You know, you can't treat every child the same. You know, a lot of times when you're a teacher, you're dealing with kids from all different kind of backgrounds. And, you know, you just have to, it's a super rough job. They're so underpaid, but it's incredibly necessary. You know, I think anytime you talk to a vast majority of people that have had a little bit of success in life, you know, they all have that one or two teachers in their lives that have really impacted them and really showed them that, you know, they were special and that they could make a difference. And, you know, those voices are needed now more than ever. And, you know, it's all about that personal attention. And, you know, super shout out and much love to all the educators that, you know, go above and beyond. You know, you're very necessary and extremely needed now more than ever.
So the late U.S. Representative John Lewis, who fought for civil rights alongside Dr. King, said this about voting: "The vote is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have in a democratic society." Now, you share Dr. King and Representative Lewis's passion for voting. We saw that in the powerful Blackish episodes you recently directed. And, you know, for the most recent 2020 election, over 160 million Americans voted. And this week, the country will make history as Kamala Harris is sworn in as the first Black, South Asian woman and the first vice president to have graduated from a historically Black university. So tell us why it is important to continue the work of Dr. King by ensuring that voting remains a powerful tool for democracy. Why should people vote?
I think voting is just, you know, a God-given right that not enough of us have, because people are constantly working to take it away from us. As you saw in the past election, you know, the voter suppression is such a huge issue. And, you know, is how you're able to make your voice heard, you know, and it's bigger than just the big, you know, kind of shiny, you know, presidential elections. You know, you have the local elections are actually probably some of the most important ones because they impact your community directly. You know, they tell you where funding is going and you know, who's getting resources, who aren't, you know, who are going to be the people that are in charge of, you know, who are the DAs, you know, who are the judges, you know. And so I think, yeah, voting is just really a great way to make your voice heard and to also help change your surroundings if you feel like it's not something that you're liking anymore, you know.
So true. Voting is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
Now, back in October, you tweeted, yep, we followed your tweets. So back in October, you tweeted, be a good person, do good work, give back to your community, help bring others up, help spread joy. So that tweet seems to speak to Dr. King's vision of a beloved community. So what does a beloved community look like to you?
I mean, it's kind of all right there, you know, just somebody that knows that you're a part of something bigger than yourself, you know. It's not all about you, you know, as much as sometimes it may seem. And, you know, you always got to just try to reach back and help others who are not in as fortunate a position as you may be. Because even if you're feeling like, man, I want to be a lot further than I am, you can look back and probably the moment that where you currently are is something that you probably prayed to be at. You know, and so you just got to take it all in stride and, you know, don't forget to help others because you didn't get where you are on your own as well.
As you think about young people across the state of the nation, do you have any things that you would recommend for them to, as they think about activating their own beloved communities in their space, any sort of tips and hints for them activating, building beloved connections and moving toward a beloved community?
I think it just all really begins with intention. You know, if you you know, really in your heart of hearts, you know, want to do better, you know, and start reaching out. You know, it's not anything that should feel too overwhelming. You know, just start with one person, and you know, you'll see how it there's a domino effect. You know, after you help that first person, you know, and you just kind of baby steps from there.
Thank you so much for your art. Thank you so much for your message. Thank you so much for the affirmation you have offered in the space of things that are not necessarily readily apparent to the masses. Very much appreciative of your work and your art. Thank you. God bless you.
No, I appreciate you guys so much. Definitely a pleasure, and just can't wait for this to come out.
Now, as we wrap up today's virtual celebration, I want to make sure we leave with Dr. King's words we keep coming back to over and over again. As he embarked on his Poor People's Campaign, Dr. King said, "We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." Dr. King wanted us to know that we need each other.
And it is these loving connections that we actively work toward Dr. King's vision. He said, "I do not think of political power as an end, neither do I think of economic power as an end. They are the ingredients in the objective that we seek in life. And I think the end of that objective is truly brotherly society and the creation of the beloved community."
We hope this celebration has brought you joy, love, and a commitment to bold action. On behalf of the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, the Governor's Council, 3M, Penumbra, and all the state agencies that contributed, thank you so much for joining us today to celebrate Dr. King. So happy birthday, Dr. King.
Happy birthday, Dr. King.
My name is Simeon, and I think I'm awesome because I'm being me every day. And I think I'm awesome because I help my little brothers, Manny and Noah. And I think I'm awesome because I play games that my big brother Tiger tells me to play sometimes.